Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to create a bass sound, a very simple bass sound, but it's usable for something like this. For this I needed a punchy, round and deep bass sound, which can be heard in the mix despite the dominant distorted guitar sound. Of course, I could have used a sampled bass, but that would have been too easy, right? Let's listen to a real electric bass and look at its oscilloscope graph. This kind of waveform looks like layered sine waves. For my synth sound I chose a sine wave as a bass tone and a square wave as the accent tone to add some sharpness to the sound, which will then be kept in check by a low-pass filter. We begin as always by clicking on Init Sound. Now let's set up Oscillator 1 as a sine wave and Oscillator 2 as a square wave. I found that using a wavetable number 20 works best for this sound. I made some slight adjustments on the pulse withdrawal index on Oscillator 1. On Oscillator 2, set the wave interpolation to 127 and the pulse withdrawal index to 63. Add a little bit of V-sync depths, set the density to 63. Then, most important, transpose the oscillator's output by 12 semitones or 1 octave up. Don't forget to set the volume of both oscillators to 127. Adding some ring modulation to the sound adds some more depth to it. Also, this is a bass sound, so let's tune the whole thing down by 3 octaves. You don't want to play chords with a bass, so set the polyphony mode to Mono Auto Glide. Next, we'll adjust the envelope, which means the change of loudness while playing the sound. A bass has a sharp and quick attack. The sound begins quickly when you pull the string with your finger and then fades away quickly. For me, setting the attack to 0, decay to 100, sustain to 15 and release to 79 work quite well. This is a bass sound, so let's emphasize the deep frequencies with the equalizer. Also, bring down the mid frequencies a bit and the high frequencies a lot. For me, setting the low frequency to 87 and setting gain to maximum worked just right. The square wave makes the bass sound a bit too edgy, so let's iron that out by applying a low-pass filter to the sound. I'll use the low-pass 12 decibel filter and set its default frequency to 67, resonance to 33. Set a Q norm to 48 and envelope to frequency to 1. We'll add a macro for that later, so we can control the filter while playing. We can give the bass sound more power by compressing it. Set the distortion type to valve and the compression to around 100 and the distortion level to around 50, so no distortion will occur actually, but the sound is a little bit louder overall. I also added a bit of chorus to the sound, which makes it sound a little more natural. Just leave the LFO settings at the default values and assign them to Oscillator 1 and Oscillator 2 level, but keep the settings subtle. I chose a value of 3 here, so the sound has a very recognizable vibrato to it. I used slot 3 for a very slight pitch modulation, which sounds more pleasing than a static sound. Slot 4 will affect the pitch of the sound, which we will assign to one of the encoders later. Macros enable you to tweak your sound with the encoders while performing. For this sound, I chose filter frequency, filter resonance, filter drive, V-sync depth, density detune, ring modulation depth, pitch and distortion level to be most useful. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, why don't you subscribe or maybe give me a thumbs up. Thank you and thanks for watching.